All right, it's time for some power rankings. Got our tier list up. Got Wikipedia. We got some lo-fi beats to study / chill to. So we're gonna do, even though we're gonna kind of play each other with these tournaments, we're gonna break these up. We're gonna do NA in this video, and then we'll get to APAC on the next one. The way I like to do tier lists is I try and set a spot where try and do like the bottom and the top and get like some parameters, like figure out what our locks are and try and base everything off of that. I don't think it's quite as clear cut as the top. It might be. I think I might go a little bit basic on that end. But the most obvious one to me, we're sending Titans down to the bottom. I mean, can't really defend this roster too much. I like Linkster. That's about it. Sorry, dudes. Maybe next year. But let's go ahead. We're going to try and figure out who's at the top. So what's going to make this interesting is I think Shock took like a half step backwards from last year. But the biggest thing is that there's a bunch of other teams that I think are contending level. It's kind of like how the NBA is this year. Like the Lakers are the favorites to win, but there's a lot more teams that have the ability to win this year. Shock is still the favorite, but I would still take a lot of other teams as a possibility of winning. They have like a really good chance of taking it, even just from the NA side. So I do want to put Shock up here. Even though they lost Ans and Rascal and Moth, they made some pretty good pickups. We can pull up here. They got Glister. Glister, I think when you overlap with strikers, you can be taking that sniper position a lot more than Ans was, kind of. So when you're running the double hit scan, if you want to do like the Widow Tracer, stuff like that, you're not going to see much Glister Tracer, I think, unless they really need to flex into that. It's like at some sort of in-map adjustment or something like that. But like the way they fill out the rest of this is, even if FD God isn't as good as Moth, like they still have Violet and Twilight, which is crazy. I like Nero on this. I feel like Tayo is going to end up being some sort of specialist if he ends up being like an Echo specialist, or they just have him as a Genji. Like this double hit scan lineup is pretty nasty. It may not be quite as good as what they were before, which is kind of why I feel like they took like that half, maybe even quarter step backwards. But they're still going to be like, they're still the favorites. They're still undoubtedly the favorites. But instead of putting them in a tier of their own, I think there's a couple other teams that are going to meet them on this tier. And this is kind of like where you're going to see a lot of the same picks, I think, because it's pretty obvious like where the top is here. So obviously, like I think like Dallas is going to come at this level. This is a full rebuild that they did, and I think it's almost reasonable to assume that they're going to collapse somehow, just because that's the org and that's all Dallas has done. How do you lose with this lineup? Like, what are you gonna do with this that's anything less than like Final Four? This is ridiculous. So obviously this is essentially what Paris had last year, but then you add Doha, they add Repel, so they have that flex support depth that they needed. Jexay is pretty good here. The biggest issue is I don't think Jexay is as good as FD God, but the potential right now of running the all-Korean lineup might actually help Jexay kind of mix in with this roster a little bit better than he did with Houston. I really do think like there is still like this air of potential of Dallas collapsing, because that's what they do every year. Every year they make good acquisitions, but it never like pans out. But this is ridiculous. It would be impressive to find a way to bottom out with this lineup. But if there's an organization that can do it, it'd be Dallas. I think the other two that are pretty obviously up at this level, first would be Washington. Shock and Dallas are the most complete rosters I see here, but I like a lot of what Washington's done. They really covered a lot of their gaps really well here. I think Tuba is really good. I know that he's getting compared a lot to Libero because they apparently picked him over Libero in their trials, but I think he is pretty good there. I really like this DPS rotation, and more specifically, I've always liked Rhea on Hangzhou actually, but having Fury on this lineup is nasty. A lot of the criticism comes with Bebe and Closer. I also liked Bebe, or Bebe on Hangzhou. I thought he was pretty good. Obviously, like, they have some really cracked flex supports now, but like this isn't a bad pickup. I think it is still definitely better than what they had last year, Aim God and Arc. So that's a pretty clear upgrade. But that's why I don't want to put them like quite with Dallas. I don't know if I want to full tier break this though, because I think these teams are all being pretty close to each other. There's a little more obvious weakness here. I think there's a possibility that their supports kind of have like a bounce back year, especially Closer, because Closer was on the championship team 7-man roster for London, and he looks pretty good on Dallas. But that might be like another case of, at this point, playing on an all-Korean roster might actually be to his benefit. The other like piece here is how well is Meg going to translate to the Overwatch League. I think he is still really good. He was incredible on Runaway. And there's still this whole concept here that not every rookie's going to pan out. There's going to be some busts. There's going to be some guys that just don't translate well to the league. That's kind of what happened with Roar. I hope this isn't a Roar scenario. I really want to see Meg do well. But this is kind of interesting to see. Like, there's some guys in here that they've been in the league for a little while now. Like, obviously Closer's been in here since the beginning. Then most of these guys started in Season 2. And Meg's now a rookie on this team. So, hopefully, like, this is a group that has a lot of experience with them already. And this is moving into like this win now, like this is our window to win the championship roster. This is a really big role for Meg to fill here, especially as there's no other rotation tank to help him. If he doesn't perform well right out the gates, then they're gonna have to start looking for a replacement or a better rotation tank to just narrow his hero pool down instead of covering the entire main tank roster, to instead just bring him into a couple different heroes. And try and help him develop as a more complete player in the league. But because of how crazy, otherwise, like having Fury, having this DPS lineup, like I have to put them up here, but I think they're really close still with Gladiators. So Gladiators are a weird one because they were, oh, we gotta start with Los Angeles. Okay. They are a weird one because I thought they were gonna be good last year. I thought they were gonna be like, for NA, they were probably going to be top 5, was my guess. I really did think Birdring was going to have that comeback here, and I'm glad he did. But my issue with this, again, is you're bringing in Muse, who's new. So it's the same story with Meg. You know, is he going to translate? Is another Roar situation. There's a couple other guys that didn't translate as well to the league, but I think that's like the most identifiable one and the most well-known case. Which again, I hope he does. I really hope this like works out for them. I really like the Gladiators. And then the other like potential weakness I see is I kind of want like a little bit more DPS depth here. You have Mir as your one backup. Like obviously, like you're running Kevster and Birdring almost exclusively as your starting DPS, and Mir's your rotation guy. But like I think you just need like one more. Like, and I don't know who's on the market right now, because you're not going to try, like, you're looking for like another flex at this point, or sorry, not another flex, another hit scan, because Kevster and Mir kind of covered that whole role together. I just feel like this is like one person away from surpassing like these two teams. This support lineup is stacked. This is crazy. She was really good. Plus, just like, I mean, obviously Moth was like MVP candidate last year, so that's easy upgrade. Like their support line was good last year, but this is easily top 3, debatably the best support duo in the league. I'm not gonna hold to that. I can't think of them all off the top of my head. I'm not gonna do that whole that whole ranking right now, but they're easily top 3, potentially the best. I think you make an argument for that. So this is gonna be kind of a nutty support duo, but yeah, that's the reason I'm not gonna be able to move them up a little bit higher is because this is the most identifiable team. Is like I really think they need like one more player. That's for the fun part. These are the obvious ones. These 4 up here, this one down here. This is where it's gonna get a little bit spicy. So we have a tier break here. The number 5 team, I think, in NA, it's gonna be Florida. I still think they're not quite where I want them to be. I think I really like Florida. Florida is my number 1 team. I'm a Florida stan ever since season 1. It's their season 100% hinges on if OG is good enough. He showed flashes of being good enough when he was on Dallas and Gladiators, but it seems like there's just never the right fit for him. And I think part of what happens in the Overwatch League is it is really dependent on your fit on a team. It's just like what happens in real sports. Like, you can have guys that have specific play styles. They need a specific like style, like build around them. Like, that's the whole concept of building a team around a player. And this might be the case for OG, is he just never had the right team around him. And if there was the right team for him, this is it. I miss fate for this team, to be completely honest with you, because I think they patched up like one of their biggest weaknesses, which was the main support. I like Checkmate. I think he's going to fill in pretty nice on this team, because Yaki and BQB were actually like really solid last year as the DPS duo. We're kind of missing a third support to try and round this out, which is the other thing, because double flex was a pretty big part of the meta last year. I think you kind of want that versatility in your roster, and you can afford another spot here. Ooh, okay, now I'm looking at this. I'm doing this. Okay, I'm fine with that. Yeah, because Florida and Gladiators, I think, are both a player away from where I want them to be. I do that. Oh, I literally have a tier list on another tab that I did before this video, but I'm looking at this now and I'm thinking again. I think I like Florida better than Gladiators. No, hold on. Is that crazy? I think. Okay, hold on. We're doing a second Wikipedia tab. Let's just take a second here. Muse and OG. I don't know. That's the biggest question mark for both teams. God, that support line is so good, but this one is also good. Am I crazy? I'm doing it. Yeah, I'm doing it. All right, I'm doing it. Florida over Gladiators. Let's go on our next tier. This is the next spicy one. I'm taking Toronto next. I like Toronto a lot here. But Sato, Hisu, that's really solid. I like Michelle a lot. I think he's not the best, but he's gonna be like consistently good for them. I think that's a right way to take this. I don't know the place for Beast in this lineup. I could see like Logix is done because he was on Florida for a while when they started moving into that full Korean, and then Defiant was still pretty split last year when Logix was part of it. So like I can still see Logix playing a Korean lineup, kind of like what Moth was doing with San Francisco, where it was 5 Koreans and Moth. I could see that happening with Logix here, because I really like having the potential to do like a Logix Hisu or Logix Nast. Nay first. The support line sleeper. Last year was really good. Last year was really good on Valiant last year. I don't know enough about this guy. I've heard he's really good, but I need to like watch stuff of my own. Where'd he come from? He's where were you before? Element Mystic. Yeah, I mean, if he was like starting support for Element Mystic, then I'm sure he's pretty good. I still think like this is a really, really good lineup that Logic's gonna play really well in. And I really hope we don't just see mostly Hisu and Nay first lineups here. I really want to see a lot of Logic. Overall, like I think there's like a really solid, like consistent team. That's why I want to put Toronto there. The next one, I'm gonna have to take London on this tier. Every year, there's a team that overperforms expectations. Yeah, I think it's London this year. So Kelix is going to get replaced halfway through the season because that's how it works, unless it's a Mercy meta for whatever reason. Like, the support line's the weakest end here, but I think Shax is really good. I think Blase and, like, just a better system and a team that like kind of lets him just stick to his strengths. He doesn't have to like do like the McCree switch like he did last year and a couple other things. He has a better tank line. He's gonna look a lot better this year, I think. These two guys are sleepers, by the way. They're gonna be really good next year. This is the team that's gonna surprise us, I think. So that's why I'm putting them here. I realistically not put them any higher than this. But this is like the two teams that I think are gonna be like a nice surprise. We're not gonna be ready for it, but we're gonna be happy to see it. This is great. Just after the reset button, it still put my next 4 all in order. So we'll speed run these. These are my next 4 all lined up. I might move Atlanta up to the next tier as I'm looking at it, because I don't think Atlanta drops as hard as some people put them. So like they lost Ursher, but they gained KSP/Kai. Edison's good. Like, you got Pelican now to replace Ursher, and Ursher wasn't playing as much last year until like the second half of the season. Iris is a good pickup. Oh, they had him last year. Dude's got a really nutty BAP. This team's gonna be really good right out the gates, I think, because of this BAP Lucio meta that's kind of rolling right now. Although, who knows what's gonna happen with like the next experimental patch before this all starts. If you get like Masa and Lucio, and then you get like the right meta that's really gonna spot like these tanks to play well together, I kind of like this. I like this team a lot. Again, I think they're gonna be lacking in some areas. I don't think Gator and Hawk are gonna quite hold up as well as like against like the top tier of these tanks. This is the kind of team I feel like, because again, how every year there's a team that over performs expectations. There's another team that gets like really hot off of meta. Like it was like Shanghai season 2. Last year was Washington. Like there's a team every year that pops off just because of the meta. And I think it's Atlanta. But I think they're also a team that's gonna, if the meta doesn't suit them at all, it's all gotta kind of fall right for this team to like really hit their stride. But I bet you there's gonna be a meta. Who knows what it's gonna be? But all of a sudden it's just like, yep, this is just the best team for this. I'm fine putting him in this tier. No, I'm not. I'm going back on that. I'm keeping them separate. I don't think... I think they're not going to be as good as London. I think London's going to surprise us. Boston, I think a lot of people are putting too high. Literally because I don't like this tank line at all. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Who knows? I don't like fusions in Punk. To get like Punk, I think is gonna be pretty good if he went somewhere else. But his fusions is not impressed in his time in the league, and it's only a matter of time, I think, before Boston like they see like, oh, okay, they've got some guys that are like really showing up now. Like, you know, maybe like Soon and Valentine is just like this slapper DPS duo that just we're not expecting to clean up, and they are. And then like we got this really nice support line now in Byunbong and Faith. They did get a new coach whose name I'm blanking on right now. Lori, that's right. Really good coach. They could turn this around. So this team's gonna look better. I'm really hung up on this tank line. So I'm gonna hang them with Atlanta here. And these are teams I feel like it could be a little bit friskier than we're expecting. Which is why I'm running out tier breaks. Which is why I gotta throw a tier break right here. Because I think these are the two teams that are really running the potential. They hit the right meta and they just start running. Especially with Atlanta. Boston is how good can the coaches take this roster they're given? But I don't think their tank line's strong enough to really hold them up against some of the tougher teams. I'm sorry, Houston fans. I don't like your team. I like Houston. I like the Outlaws. They got cool branding. I don't like your team. I don't like your support line. Juby's alright. Crimson's not bad. I've heard these guys are pretty solid. I've not watched enough of their... Oh, where did they come from? It was Talon. Not watched enough of that to really tell you how good these guys are. But... I think Houston's gonna be a fun bad. I think they're gonna lose they're gonna do the Houston thing. They're gonna lose close games all year, and it's gonna be like they're gonna take like Shock in like Florida and some of these other like random good teams to map 5, and they're just gonna lose because Dante and Happy cracked. That's nutty. KSF, great player. Hydration, I hope he's good again. I really like him, but like the massive question mark here. I hope these guys overperform and they end up being a lot better, but like I don't know, like just having a brand new tank line of 2 rookies, kind of risky, and I don't like the support line. So I have to leave him down here. Paris is in kind of the same boat, like just a lot of unprovens. I'm gonna tell you right now, Nega's gonna clean up. Nega, he's so good. I've been following this guy for a while, and he is really good. I like Onigod a lot. I'm really glad that he was able to find a team because I don't think he really got a chance to show how good he is with Dallas. I think Elevote is pretty good. I'm hoping Dane, I don't know. I'm hoping he shows up. They don't have like the last rotation DP. Like this is a really like bare bones roster. Suno was not good last year. Don't know enough about this guy. So need to have an image on Liquipedia. What a scrub. I don't know how to pronounce that either. But I hope he shows up. Who's their coach this year? Do we have that? Get Amazed. Who? JMax the assistant. Get Amazed was doing Eagle Gaming. Okay. Oh yeah, Eagle Gaming back then. Oh, back when Eagle Gaming was the best Overwatch team of all time. Right. This is such a bare bones roster. They're just missing things. I feel like you want to run Neptuno and Khan all season. I don't know, like, are you really gonna play? You're gonna play Suna? I don't see any reason to ever sub these 2 out. You just run these 6 the whole time. Is that good enough to really move you past these other teams? Maybe Houston. Probably Houston. Nah, Happy Dante is way too good. If we get back to like that Widow Tracer, Ash Echo kind of deal, Houston's gonna be pretty good. I don't see Paris moving past that. Do they just like this roster's too empty? I like the DPS line. I like Elevote. Neptuno has proven good, but like I can't reasonably put them above anybody else. All right, I think that covers it. I'm actually on the set for the APAC power rankings, and I was watching more like Korean contenders VODs and Chinese contenders to prep for this one, and I am going to change 2 things that I said about this video. I am more sold on Jangu and Piggy than I was before, and I am actually moving Houston to this tier, leaving Paris in a tier of its own. Down here. I think Houston's going to be on this level with these 2 teams. I don't know where they stack against these off the top of my head, but they're definitely in the mix with them and not a full tier below. The other thing that I was going to change was that I couldn't think off the top of my head when I was talking about it which pickup I want for Gladiators, because I said these 2 teams are like a piece away. For Gladiators specifically, I think they need another damage to round out that rotation. The one, after watching more VODs, that I'd like to see them pick up actually would be Ace from WGS, and there might be a couple others, but I just remember while I was watching these VODs back, like looking at a lot of this footage from WGS, Runaway, One Winner, and like a bunch of the other ones, Billy, a number of teams, and Ace was the one that stood out to me the most. It's like, I don't know why he is not on a team currently, but I think that he would be a really good rotation piece to put in the Gladiators lineup, and if they pick him up, I genuinely think that's enough to move him to this tier. This is my tier list. I'm downloading it. I'm going to tweet it. If you want to see me tweet this list, along with some of my other tweets, I have my Twitter down here. Anyway, come back to see what we do with AVAC. Later, dudes.